actually did a little bit of research on it. Like, maybe not research, but I pulled up some shit.
Oh, really? Like what?
I went straight to Wiki, dude. I wasn't even fucking around with this one.
You what?
All right.
You went straight to what? Wiki?
Wiki, yeah.
Wow.
Straight to Wiki.
What is that supposed to do for you?
Why don't I tell them some shit, I guess. My car should be connecting in a second so that I can actually use my phone. Come on, old Colorado. Come on, baby.
Colorado. Is it a 4-wheel drive on that puppy?
You there?
Yeah. Oh, go figure.
Hey, all right.
I asked, is it a 4-wheel drive on that puppy?
Oh yeah. It's got a 4-wheel high and then 4-wheel low. It's got actually 3 different 4-wheel drive settings. I don't know what the other one is.
You seem to me like the type of person that you ever see that person that's driving the pickup truck down the road and you know how the bed of the pickup creates its own little wind cycle, people have loose shit in there that never seems to fall out. You seem like the guy that drives down the road with just wrappers and shit that are floating around but never seem to fall out of the bed of your truck.
Dude, I'm the kind of guy who drives around with a bag with a fucking body in the back of my truck just chilling. Seriously, dude. My mannequin body's back there all the time for class, and
oh my God, that's true. That's true. And with that, I want to get this thing started and say welcome into the 4th episode of Stuff You Wouldn't Say Out Loud with Mike and Jake. And today's topic is parenting and kids in general. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, kids and parenting. Parenting and how you should not suck at parenting your kids so much.
Right. And I have one child with another one on the way, and you, Mike, you also have a child.
Yes, I have one son.
And he's older than mine.
I almost said his name, and I'm like,
Don't do that.
Nope.
Don't do that.
Nope.
I figure we could just use headshots of our children for the album art coming forward, or moving forward. So
for sure.
Well, you said that you have different, or you feel a little better prepared for this.
For this one, yeah.
Because you were looking at Wiki. I don't understand that. You've got years of experience. I don't know why you would need a Wikipedia.
Well, no, dude, I go to Wiki for everything, and I went to Wiki for this as well. And I feel like Wikipedia is getting slightly more reliable over the years. It went through a period where it was super reliable, and then it went through a period where everybody just posted fucking banana shit and just shit posted on there for a while. Yep. And I think the editors really started to crack down, at least from what I hear. It's getting to be a little more reliable. I don't know that I would use that as a primary source if this was actually somewhat of a, real show.
That's fair.
And actually, yeah.
I mean, maybe don't cite us,
Yeah, I would if you're doing any kind of research paper, I would not use us as a citation.
Also, let me take 1 second here to apologize to the listeners for the first, just the opening there. I had the heat blasted on my car before I realized. I got so used to just hearing the that I didn't realize I still had it on because I'm sitting in my car like always. It's freezing out.
You're blasting heat?
yeah, I was just blasting the heat. I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't even know. Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't hear it?
I couldn't hear it, no, but I'm not going to lie, you broke up for a solid 3 seconds, so I was just agreeing with you, because I wasn't really sure what you were saying.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to be honest.
Let it roll.
I'm going to be honest. I was just I'm not even sure what the episode's on. No, I'm kidding. I just happened to guess children and parenting. That's just what I said. I did a little more research on this one, just to kind of see what, because as a parent, you know that, like, you may parent slightly differently, I should say, than, like, other parents. Like, you'll see some parents, like, in their, I'm going to use air quotes here, parenting style, because, like, I don't even know that there is fucking styles for what some parents do, but, like,
sure.
And you're like, yeah, that's not how I parent.
If I were a better man, I would have written those styles down. I would have done some sort of pre-production for this, maybe in the future, but not right now. I'm sorry, person in Iowa, but you know, like there is like, you know, the helicopter parent, and that's about all I know.
Sure.
That's
actually called.
That's about all I know.
We're going to call that the. Let me see what they call it here in this article, because that is there. Let me see if that's.
Oh, really? Oh, so you have these.
I have some articles. Yeah. They do not call it helicopter parenting, but what you're referring to is attachment parenting.
Okay, well, I'm interested. In knowing what that is or what that means, because I just at first, you know, when you first hear it, at first glance, I would say that I am a helicopter parent, but I don't know the proper definition of it to know whether or not I actually am.
So let me break down. So, like, I put up a couple of different articles here that are no longer on my phone because they just disappeared. But I'm gonna look them back up again real quick here. But they I think generally it's accepted that there are 4 different types of parenting. There are some newer trends that have titles as well. So I've seen anywhere between 3 to 6 types of parenting, but I would say most people agree that there are 4 types of parenting.
Yeah.
So let's pull up Very Well Mind. Well, it's Very Well Family. It's a branch of Very Well Mind, which can be hit or miss. I guess we'll kind of go with it, but I think they're at least kind of know someone in this one. So there is authoritarian,
okay,
which they say, like, if you ask yourself these questions and the answer is yes, this would be your like, if these statements sound like you, you would qualify as an authoritative parent. So do you believe kids should be seen in that herd? When it comes to rules, you believe it's my way or the highway. And you do not take your children's feelings into consideration.
Right.
So these are pretty well known, like authoritarian parents, it says, are famous for saying, because I said so. Like, this is my way, this is the rules, I'm the parent, you're the child, like that kind of thing. And we'll come back to these. I'll just kind of briefly touch on these for just a second.
No,
so
this
we can
is great.
get through
This
them.
is great. Again, like, I love this podcast because I'm just learning.
Hey, you know what? I do what I can. This is kind of like another podcast I'm not going to name that shares a word with us that I really enjoy. Like, shares the same word in our title, but actually 2 words.
Why don't you just say it?
Oh, I mean, they're a monster. They're a monster in the podcast industry. Stuff you should know, which I would like to think people think we're associated with them because of our title, but we're not at all. And they would not ever want to be involved with us at all. They would not at all. But, I mean, Stuff You Should Know, great podcast. I listen to it, you know, every time a new episode comes out, I love it.
Yeah, we highly recommend you stop listening to this one right now and head on over.
And head on over, because that's going to be way better. Yeah, Josh and Chuck, major props to them. And then also with the Stuff family, Stuff to Blow Your Mind and Stuff You Shouldn't Say Out Loud. Really good podcast. Got to give credit where credit's due.
Yep.
Those guys are awesome. Really good podcast. So then next we have the authoritative parenting. So, again, the statements, if these applied to you may be an authoritative parent, would be you put a lot of effort into creating and maintaining a positive relationship with your child. You explain the reasons behind your rules.
Wait, which kind of parenting is this?
This is authoritative.
Okay.
Authoritative parenting.
And this is separate from the first one.
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian
right.
and authoritative. I don't remember what you just said. Authoritative?
Yeah, authoritative. Authoritative, yeah. So you explain the reasons behind your rules, and you enforce rules and give consequences, but take your child's feelings into consideration. So this is kind of like a mix between a couple that we'll be talking about, but this is kind of where authoritarian, where this is like, these are my rules, but this is why I have these rules. Says they invest a lot of time and energy into preventing behavior problems before they start, and use positive reinforcement as opposed to negative reinforcement. So if we're going Pavlov's dogs, this is like giving, like stick or carrot instead of stick.
Right.
They tend to be happy and successful children, good at making decisions and evaluating safety risks on their own. So the next one's going to be permissive. So this is if you set rules, but they're rarely enforce them, you don't give out consequences very often, and you think your child will learn best with little interference from you. And this is permissive.
That's interesting.
So, yeah. These are the kind of people that will say kids will be kids kind of thing. Like, yeah, fuck it, kids will be kids. You know what I mean? Let them get fucking wild, dude. Yeah. And so they're the ones that are going to give like privileges back if like a child begs. Like, let's say you say no fucking Xbox for 20 minutes because apparently that's all kids can handle nowadays.
Right.
And they're like, but mom, I need it. And you're like, all right, fine. If you promise to be good, fine.
It's like
these people were actually, I guess, shown to struggle academically. They exhibit more inappropriate behavioral problems. They don't appreciate authority and rules. They have low self-esteem and report a lot of sadness. They're at a higher risk for health problems like obesity because they tend to give in, like parents give in to like junk food and stuff like that, which actually leads to more dental problems, I guess studies have shown as well. And don't ask me where those studies are because they're not cited in this article. So we're just going to have to... We're going to have to trust very well mind on this.
Trust us.
And the fourth most common one is, or like the most accepted one, is uninvolved parenting, which from what I understand, this is like this is acceptable, but like very, very, very much frowned upon. From like what I read in other articles, this is like there was one article that said like, we won't even accept this. Like, we're not even going to talk about this.
Now, what was the name again?
Uninvolved parenting.
Uninvolved. So, like,
uninvolved.
A drug addict. Is that?
Well, I mean, it doesn't jump straight to drug addicts. It's not jumping straight to that yet. But let's check it out. So, this is if you don't ask your child about school or homework, you rarely know where your child is or who she is with, and you don't spend much time with your child. Now, I'm going to put a pin in this because this is going to sound similar to a newer trend, but slightly different. This is more neglectful. Actually, like I saw this quoted twice as being neglectful. So as opposed to the one we're going to talk about in a little bit here is similar, but not exactly the same. So, these people don't have very many rules at all. So unlike the other one, like the last one, which was, what did I say? Permissive.
Yeah.
So unlike permissive, these are not even, they're not even going to have rules. Parents aren't even going to make rules to let the kids break. They're just going to let them kind of do whatever they want. Right. They're not going to receive much guidance, nurturing. They expect their children to raise themselves. They don't devote much time or energy into meeting their child's basic needs. And again, this article also quotes neglectful, but not always an intentional neglectfulness. A lot of times these are parents with mental health issues, substance abuse problems. They may not be able to care for a child's physical or emotional needs. They're not going to know or lack knowledge about their child's development. Sometimes they're just overwhelmed with problems like work. So this isn't always just like hey, I'm a drug addict and I don't care about you. This is like, hey, I'm working constantly, like, make your own dinner, like, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, this might not even be an intentional, like, this might be like,
that's fair. That's a great point.
Like, I'm working.
That's a great point.
Right. Right, like I'm working 3 jobs, so I have to, you have to fucking make your own ramen noodles or something like that.
You know what's probably stupid of me, but my mind throughout all of this.
What's up?
I can't stop thinking about what category I would put Sam I Am under. You ever see that movie?
Which one was that?
Sam I Am.
Oh yes, yeah, Sam I Am, yes, yeah. Yeah, I love that movie. I think Sean Penn did a fucking amazing job in that movie.
That movie makes you cry hard. Dude,
I don't cry, but my eyeballs sweated a little bit in that movie.
Oh, bullshit.
Sure. Dude, my eyeballs were just slightly sweating a little bit. I'm not sure what happened. It's the same thing that happened in The Notebook too. Like my eyeballs sweated a little bit.
I actually haven't seen that just to play it safe, so I don't have to admit to
Oh my gosh. Dude, you're missing out. Really, it's seriously a good movie. I really like that movie. Like, I'm gonna get shit for that, but I don't give a fuck, dude.
That's the one where they wind up out in the rain, right?
They're in the rain, yeah. It's so sad. It's definitely a tearjerker.
Little bit of a tangent, but so I think Sam I Am's probably more of like somehow stumbled his way into an authoritative position. But not.
Okay.
I feel like he does, he probably does fall into all the different areas because he can't help it.
Sure. Yeah, because, there's definitely times where, he's not uninvolved, but he doesn't really have the rules. He could meet some... And I think, a lot of what, the point they're trying to make is, and actually the very first thing it says after, going through these in this article is sometimes parents don't fit into just one. So, there's not going to be just, it's not these clear-cut things that are just, you're one or the other. Yeah.
Well, think about it. Especially if you're a single parent and you're normally authoritative, but then all of a sudden you get the flu, or something, just
sure.
You catch an illness of some sort that's just polarizing. You're by default you're gonna fall into a different category.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, I think it's different points in your life too. But yeah, I would totally agree with that. So there is a couple other that I'll just mention. We'll say these are honorable mentions because they're kind of newer ideas, but they are making quite a there's quite a cult following. If you were to get into the parenting realm, I looked at some blogs and some Facebook groups on parenting and these different ones, especially these two. And dude, there's some vehement arguer. It's almost like a cult following, dude. You're these newer ones. People are this is the way to fucking do it. So the second. Yeah. So these two that are newer that are just people are crazy about is attachment parenting, which is kind of what we were talking about, helicopter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the helicopter parenting kind of thing. So these people are about. So they have on their website, it's API, Attachment Parenting International. They have 8 principles or parenting practices that they believe will help a child develop secure bonds.
Okay.
And that's preparing for pregnancy, birth, and parenthood, feeding with love and respect, responding with sensitivity, especially when a parent hears a baby cry, using nurturing touch and physical contact, ensuring safe sleep, physically and emotionally, providing consistent love and care, practicing positive discipline, and striving for balance between personal and family life. So it's all about creating these close bonds and then kind of keeping these close bonds with their children.
So I have something to add to that because with those right there, I feel like I feel like what I was saying, I still agree that's probably me. I definitely still also the authoritative, but I feel like those two things are similar.
Sure.
But now the interesting thing that I'm able to take a step back and kind of dissect myself and why I think that I am that type of parent was because I want to have that close bond. I want to be in my kid's life and want my kid to be so closely in his life, obviously not overwhelmingly, but because I never necessarily had that myself. I think I did up to a certain point. My parents were divorced when I was 5, and that's where things kind of shit the bed, more or less. And so I think for the rest of my life, it has always been like I wanted to find that pre-5-year-old kind of memory, kind of feel-good emotion that I used to have, like everything's fine emotion. And then all of a sudden when your parents split, it's like, oh, fuck, the world changes.
Right.
And so I think that's probably why I fall into that category.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then on the flip side of that, like the opposition to that is what is called free-range parenting, which is kind of an older concept.
Well, it sounds a lot more humane right off the bat.
Right, yeah. We're not keeping them in cages. They're allowed to roam freely. But, I mean, that's kind of where they took their title from. Because the whole idea here is that they want to encourage their kids to become, like, more independent by letting them have greater, like, say over what they're doing, like, what happens in their life, like, more responsibility, and less supervision. So, like, it's not permissive because there's still rules and expectations. They just think that, like, if they give those kids the responsibility, like in the, if they take ownership over their own lives, they will still meet those expectations, but they will have the choice to do so. Like they will make the right choice to do so. So, like, there's a story here where this kind of came from, this whole craze, because it got crazy. So there was a lady named Lenore.
I feel like both those worlds, a lot like politics, can kind of bleed together, too,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But go on.
So there's this lady, and this is where this term came from. This lady named Lenore Skenazy, I'm not sure, Lenore. And she let her 9-year-old son, basically what she did is she gave him a map in New York City and said, like, you can find your way home. Like, one day he asked if he could ride the subway alone, and she said, sure. Gave him a map and went home with the faith that he would be able to use that map and, like, navigate the subway system to find his way home.
Right.
She, like, gave him the, the autonomy to do so.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, he did. He made it home. See, this is what I don't know. I don't disagree necessarily with free-range parenting. I think that's a little overboard. Like, I think you're asking.
That's a lot.
I mean, like...
I sweat, like, even watching movies. Watching movies where, like, it's like the unaccompanied, the minor going on a plane to another state to meet up with their aunt or whatever. Like, that's something that my mom actually would do. My mom, I remember sending my sister, she must have been, I want to guess 12 or 13, and just, dropped her off at the airport to hop on a plane herself to fly out to New Jersey to meet up with my aunt. And even, so if my sister was 12, 13, I was 9 or 10, and I can just, like, I was nervous. Like, I felt like at that point I was thinking, like, what the fuck's wrong with you, Mom? like that's
right.
intense.
Yeah, no. And I think, like I said, this is something that I think would have been totally okay, like, in the, like, 40s, 50s, 30s, where, like, people kind of looked after each other a little bit better. Like, you could send your kid down to, because like I said, this was a thing, and this was very common. Like, you would never think twice about letting your kid just kind of run around the neighborhood and go to the park and hang out and do whatever until dark and come back, like, for dinner time. That was nothing back then. Nowadays, parents are much more aware and observant, and
I know so many families that, like, with their kids, they have, like, they all turn on their, like, location mode or whatever, so they can all check in on each other. It's like, oh yeah, I know where my dad is, or like, yeah, I know where my son is.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot to this, like, free-range parenting thing, and I mean, like, we won't go into, like I said, we're not a Stuff You Should Know show, but actually Stuff You Should Know did do an episode on free-range parenting, and it's excellent. I would highly recommend, like, if you're interested in that, check it out, because they do a much better job of explaining it than me. But they did a whole episode on free-range parenting, so yeah, definitely worth checking out. But, like, that's the idea, that's the basic idea of it. Like, you just gotta let your kids, and like I said, back in the day, sure. Like, now you got people fucking running around. I mean, I'm sure there was, like, child molesters and shit back then, but, like, I mean, I don't think it's just my perception that, like, people looked after each other better back then, like public people. Like I said, people were more. Well, and I think people were able to be.
I think it's important to point out that, like, I totally agree, because people weren't hiding behind their phones back then. There was nothing like it. They were so used to human contact and human conversation, where nowadays, like I told you, I don't think it was on the pod, but I told you last week I was in a Walmart, and a worker and a shopper were, like, neck and neck, like getting ready to fight, and
yeah.
And when I looked around, because the whole time I'm holding my son, and I'm pointing at, like, balloons and, like, having him look the other direction of this fucking shit show going on, just because I don't want him to see two idiots fighting over nothing. Like, it was like canned food, and like I told you, I was ready to step in and just offer to pay the $15 or whatever the hell it was, just so they could stop in front of people's kids. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But
no, absolutely, man.
But
and
what
like
I did
said,
when I looked around, everybody else, though, just had their phone out recording it, because that's what people do now. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
That is insane to me. How about one of you assholes who aren't holding a kid step in and try to, not step in an aggressive way, but just, say, like, hey, there's probably a misunderstanding here. I'd like to rectify the situation for, on whoever's behalf. I'm sure both of you are right, and I'm sure both of you are wrong. It doesn't matter. How do we just finish this, But no one wants to do that anymore.
Yeah. No. And I think the thing is, dude, is like I said, I don't think you really can, like, maybe that kind of situation, but, like, back in the day, I mean, like, you wouldn't think twice about even, like, reprimanding somebody else's kids, because everybody wasn't fucking insane. Like, I say this all the time, as being a healthcare professional, which I won't, like, disclose, like, what I am, but I'm a healthcare professional. I always say, like, if I saw a kid fucking fall off of a slide at a park nowadays and break his fucking arm, you could not pay me enough money to go up and help that kid if their parents weren't around. And even if they were around, I don't know how comfortable I would feel, dude, because, like, there's been cases where people have been beaten to death for trying to help lost kids find their parents, because people, like, one person starts screaming child molester, and, like, it's gang mentality, dude. It's fucking everybody goes bananas. So, like, I honestly would not feel comfortable.
But what would you do? What would you do as a parent, like you are, if you were on the opposite end, like, not the one helping, but the parent, in a situation like that, where, like, your kid's lost, you're also looking for your kid, and
sure.
and someone's yelling, child molester or whatever, when really, like, this guy's walking around the corner with your kid, just like, oh, you think you live on this street? Okay, let's figure this out. What do you do? Because even when I try to put myself in the parent shoes, even I'm still skeptic.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think I would be level-headed enough to be like, well, wait a minute here. Like,
well, I wouldn't take the guy's knees out, unless my kid. See, even still, like, if my kid's sobbing, crying, you don't know if he's just sobbing,
but he might
crying.
Just be scared because he's lost.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I mean, I get it, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, there's so many stories of these, like, social media witch hunts, like, of people being, like, their lives ruined for nothing. Like, I heard the story about this guy who was accused by a lady of taking pictures of her children, and she took, like, a pretty damning picture of this guy, like, with his camera out, like, taking pictures of what appeared to be, appeared to be taking pictures of her, like, young children. And there was this huge, like, witch hunt to find out who this guy was, and they eventually did, and they came, like, people literally came to his house and fucking, like, destroyed his property and went to his employer and got him fired, and, like, the police got involved, and, like, literally this guy was taking, like, pictures of a poster in a store. Like, that was what was on his camera. There was no pictures of, like, literally that's all that was going on. And
I have a story too, though. So I was at an event one time. This is up in your neck of the woods. And it was actually the first time that my now wife, her mom and stepfather met my mom and my mom's, I want to say boyfriend, but no, maybe they were married already. But I guess I should say stepfather, but I don't really see it that way anymore. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. It's just after you've been to two of your mom's 3 weddings, it's just like, all right, come on,
Yeah.
But so, anyways, though, and so my younger brother at the time, 12. I want to say 12.
Okay.
11 or 12. I do want to say 12. Was there and had to go to the bathroom. And now I've got some drinks in me. But, I walk him to the bathroom, and I don't go in because I don't have to go to the bathroom. He goes in. While he's in there, a guy walks out, and he says, there's some drunk asshole in there with his phone out taking photos of people in there. So, I mean, you knowing me, what do you think I did? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fucking game time, so, but what I did, even with drinks in me, what I did first is I stopped the guy. I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah, man. And I said, my 12-year-old brother is in there. You need to get a cop right now, or I'm handling this. And so we get a cop, and the cop comes and demands to see the guy's phone, but not right away, and he's just talking as the guy, and like clearly this guy, I can't allege it. It looks like the guy is just taking his time deleting photos. It doesn't look like anything other than that to me, because I'm already livid, and now I have.
So he's like on his phone, just like frantically going through shit, like deleting shit. Like
exactly.
That's what's happening at this point.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so right now I'm still away from my now wife, back then girlfriend. I'm still not by her. I'm still not by my family. I am just myself, one other guy who saw it with his own eyes, and then my 12-year-old brother and the cop and this guy, this defendant, the suspect, right? And so
describe the suspect here. I'm just trying to get it. I'm trying to visualize this whole situation going down.
White guy, mid-40s, shorter black hair, looked upper middle class, but like, here's the thing, and it's not fair to say this because you're automatically going to take my side when I say it, but he looked a lot like Jared from Subway.
Poor Jared, man.
But what?
That guy has been just like fucking. He's I don't know, man. Whatever happened to that guy? What did he lost a lot of weight? I know that. And then whatever happened to him after that?
He's in prison for taking photos of naked children and trading photos.
Get out!
You didn't know that?
Get out!
You didn't know that?
Dude. No.
You're kidding me. You're kidding me. You did not know that?
Jared. I swear to you, dude, I did not.
What the fuck?
So, was it actually Jared from Subway? Like, is that what you're trying to tell me right now, dude?
No, I don't believe it was. I think Jared was already locked up.
So Jared from Subway was a pedo.
You didn't know this.
He's a chomo.
He's a chomo.
Wow. Mind blown.
I cannot believe you right now.
Blown. No, I didn't know anything about that fucker after he lost a bunch of weight, and I know he kind of fell off the face of the earth, but...
Well, that's why. That'll do it. But so...
Yeah, he literally fell off. He literally fell into a prison. So he's in prison. Like, he was convicted of this shit?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to... Yeah, go ahead.
No, so ultimately, cop takes his time. Like... Cop is there. It's an older cop too. Like he's just at this event. It was like it was an outdoor concert, like for the city type of thing. So like this cop's just like, what the fuck ever, you know. This cop's taking his time. And
so the cop doesn't say like, wait a minute, sir, like you need to put your phone down.
No, not at all. Because the guy is claiming that he was just taking. He was fucking around with his buddy who was also in the bathroom and pretending to take photos, and my point was, is that not enough to prove that he had his fucking like camera out taking photos in the bathroom? My whole point here is my 12-year-old brother is in there when this asshole is doing this. Whether or not he was actually trying to get photos of my 12-year-old brother doesn't matter right now. Because I don't believe that he's just hanging out in there trying to take photos of young kids. But...
Now, that being said, I could totally see, like, I have one friend in mind that was a mutual friend of ours that I could see doing that when we were at our young age of wildness, dude. I could totally see that happening. Now,
do what?
Being said, we have a friend that I could totally see trying to take pictures of your dick.
Oh,
back in the day, too.
No, I agree. The difference is...
I mean, we did a lot of, like, no homo, but we did a lot of dick-related things. I mean, I remember a friend of ours doing a windmill with his dick on a regular basis, almost daily basis, because he had a giant dong. And every party, people would just start chanting windmill.
Yeah.
And he would, you know who I'm talking about, right?
It's true.
Like,
it's true. That's true. It's 100% true. The difference is that he wasn't at a public event in a public restroom doing
That's true.
And he also wasn't
That's
he wasn't also a mid 40s, you know, adult,
upper class white male. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So
I mean,
ultimately
fair,
the cop,
like nowadays, if you were trying to take a picture of my dick in the bathroom, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Dude, like, I'd go get caught probably.
So, ultimately the cop eventually looks at his phone, finds nothing, obviously,
sure,
and that's that. And so I wasn't pleased with the cop's like final verdict. So I talked shit to this guy, and I walk away because I didn't want to get like more involved in front of my brother.
And arrested and shit, yeah.
Oh, that's the funny thing. At the time too, this is when I didn't have my license because I was arrested. So,
yeah.
So I was already on thin ice, but you know that's something that I totally own. Anyways, it wasn't.
Sure.
it wasn't Chomo related. That's for fucking sure. And so I go back and they're like, what took so long, more or less. And I told my mom's husband, and he goes, well, let's go confront this fucker, right? And so I was like, well, I did. Like, he's aware of who I am, and this guy, like, he was like, from the rest of the night, like, tactically trying to keep his distance from me, which is like smart because I didn't stop
why
drinking.
Would you even stay? Why would you even stay?
Because he was he was with his wife, his buddy, and his buddy's wife. And so
okay, wait a minute. One more thing of this puzzle that I'm confused about. So was his buddy actually in the bathroom at that time?
Yes.
And did his buddy? If so,
his buddy was there. But
what did his buddy have to say about all this? Did he like confirm this story?
Yes, but his buddy was pretty hammered. Okay. So it's like, you know, there's believable parts to it, and for all I know, he's not wrong. He's not lying.
He's right. He's still wrong now.
My thing is he's still wrong.
Sure.
But so ultimately, I go and my mom's husband doesn't do anything. He just calls him out as well, and he's actually my mom's husband is a bodybuilder, and a big dude. So this guy like still is just like Dodge City Central here. He's not, just keeps walking away, whatever, which obviously that's what you should do. However, it's clear that you're also trying to like make sure that you don't get confronted around your wife either, So ultimately I let my now wife, I let her stepdad know what's going on. Like, hey, I'm in this shit mood because X, Y, and Z happened, and I don't really know how to get over it unless I either like beat the fuck out of this guy or I just like I don't know how to get in. And so he, same thing, because my mom, little brother, and her husband, they all leave, and that's where like the night was like coming to an end. And I was like, that's like, so either like we leave and I'm always gonna feel like shit, or and he's like, well, go confront him then, like I got your back. And so I did again, and at that point cops got involved. And so my wife now, she separated me, and she just kind of reminded me like, hey, like you can't do this because you're gonna get arrested again. And so that's where that little bit of like thank God for her, like she's my brain,
right?
Not sometimes, all of the time. And that's eventually where I'm walking away, and that's where I turn around, and his friend is now trying to sprint at me, but nobody else fucking saw this because like I square up, and that's when like my wife is like, what are you doing, like, and by the time everyone else turns around, like he stops sprinting and he just yells some shit and turns around. It's like, oh, this motherfucker was gonna try and sucker punch me when I should just drop them all, but I can't because I'll get in even more trouble. And so that's pretty much how the night ended. And I know that my wife was unhappy with me for a few days after that. She doesn't think that I made, it wasn't a first impression for, her family, as far as like me, but like she thinks that I was like too drunk and pissed off about things. But I'll tell you, and the whole reason of telling a story is this point right here, is I'll tell you that I do not regret a fucking thing, because that's not my kid, that was just my younger brother, but I would do that same shit all over again for my kid. You know what I mean? Like, that is...
Sure. Yeah.
I don't regret a fucking thing. I know that, she thinks I was drinking too much and that I could have handled it better. No, I think, with
I think that
with 4 drinks in me or with no drinks in me, with no drinks in me, actually, I would probably have even more confidence to have gone further, you know?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. That whole thing's fucked. The whole situation's fucked. There's weird people in the world, man. We very quickly jumped down a child molester rabbit hole, and I think we've gotten stuck there in the child molester. But,
well, let's regroup.
like,
Let's regroup. Yeah, that was a long tangent of a story, just to reconfirm that, like, people are fucked.
Yeah, dude, for sure. But I mean, it was worth it. I was a story that I have not heard like off the pod anywhere. So I'm glad that.
No,
and
I don't talk about it just because, like, you know, it's not going to do anything now. But I felt like it applied to this. So
I think we could look that guy up and go put bags of poop on his fucking front porch, light him on fire.
I'd shit behind every one of his tires. That way he'd have to back through all of my poop.
You could pee in his gas tank.
No, because I don't want to make his car better.
At a party.
Did you?
Dude, no, yeah, don't do it. No, yeah. We did it. Yeah, it's bad. We did
Isn't
it
there a lot
to
of
a friend of ours.
Or did you like a funnel?
No, funnel.
Okay.
Funnel. Yeah. And, dude, it fucked this dude's truck up. It was like a friend of ours. It was like some guy, like, we were like, not like that we used to key cars with assholes that would come to our parties and we wanted to leave. And
oh, my God. I remember that dude. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know who it ever was, but I remember those situations.
Yeah. But no, this was actually just like a friend. It was like a prank. Like, we just
Do I know who it is?
No, actually, no. This was a different friend group. This one I was younger. I was probably only 15. We just started driving. Like, I hadn't even started driving yet.
That's
because
funny.
I was young for my class. I was like almost a year younger than everybody in my class. And yeah,
great.
dude, we thought it'd be a funny prank, and not funny. No, yeah. It ended up causing a lot of fucking problems. But you know what? I mean, in hindsight, would I do it again? Probably. I'm not saying I wouldn't. It was a valuable learning lesson, you know. I think everybody needs to piss in somebody's gas tank once in their life, you know, to really understand what the world's about.
I don't know. Well, I'm glad that you guys were smart enough to do a funnel, because I think on the spot I would have just tried to not use a funnel. And that just wouldn't.
You'd have just like pissed on the side of the car, like it's not working.
Yeah, the dude would have never known. His car would be fine.
What was that?
What?
What was that noise?
I don't know. I snorted.
Oh, okay. I heard like a demon noise on my end of things. But...
Oh, good. No, that's good signs.
Yeah, great. We can cut that. So we can cut that, I'm sure. But yeah. I mean, getting back to things, I guess like the moral of the story is like parents suck in general, pretty much nowadays. I think is what we really
want. It goes
wanted
back
to...
down to like when you become a parent is when you realize that your parents also had no fucking idea what they were doing either. I think that's what it comes down to.
Oh yeah, but I feel like even that being said, like their parent, like I see people like that just I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just like. I'm being super, super judgmental, but, like, I feel like all the time on a regular basis, like, I see people who have kids doing things with kids that just make me to say, like, you should not be allowed to have children. Like, you should not.
Tons of them.
Be allowed. You should not be allowed.
Tons of them.
Were you the one that I was having this conversation with about the IQ test?
Yep. My proposal. If I were to run for president.
Go over your proposal. Yeah, I did.
No, because I haven't lost a lot of fans already. So my proposal, if I were running for president, is that So we've done a lot of different takes on this to try and figure out the best approach, right? We wanted to do the friendly approach. We wanted to offer, again, what is it called? What is it called for a woman to get her tubes tied? Is it just getting your tubes tied?
Yeah, we decided there was no technical term for that.
So there's vasectomy and getting your tubes tied, right? Or at least
I'm sure it's like a fallopian something or other, but I don't know what it's called. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sure. So my proposal was, as president, what I would do, my whole platform would be, at first we decided we wanted to go off of the friendly approach of like, hey, if you want, based off of your IQ, if it's below a certain point, we will for free either tie your tubes or vasectomy, whether you're male or female. And then we realized all of the smart people in America would fake their IQ tests if they wanted to like only be, single and further their professional career and all that shit. So they would purposely tank their IQ test just to get free vasectomies and so what we decided on,
all the people smart enough to be like, yeah, we don't fucking want kids. Like all the fucking
it goes back to the movie. It goes back to the movie Idiocracy, right? So like, well, we just decided that it wasn't the right time. Yada yada yada. Meanwhile, the dumb fucks are like the guys out there banging two different bitches that are fucking trailer park to trailer park, and and that's. There's truth to it, though. There's truth to it.
That dude, always.
Oftentimes, I go back to that movie. However, so what we decided,
Bible,
what we decided was, we wouldn't offer it for free. This would be mandatory, just to limit not only just stupid people, but limit. We're also helping the current stupid people, because now you're not going to get pregnant anymore because we forced you to get your tubes tied or to have a vasectomy, right? We forced you to do it, and now you can just go continue your life the way that you already did.
Bang away.
And then the way that we're going to get around it, though, with it not like being just so cruel and people worried about us coming to town, is that it's just going to be it's going to be a hidden written test that you just think is status quo for every time that people have to go and renew their driver's license, right? So, like, if you're over 60, like, you're already in the clear.
Yeah.
But, except for males, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, they can still shoot a load, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to figure that part out.
The little swimmers probably have little walkers.
People wouldn't know,
and shit,
they would just be like, like part of the whole, renewing your driver's license is taking this 5-minute written test now. But based on that, on the back end, what we're doing is like, all right, well, we're gonna have to pay a visit to that fucking idiot and make sure that they're not popping any kids out anymore. And I think that that's a solid platform to run on, aside from the part that I can't admit that I'm doing that to win the election.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Yeah. I mean,
however,
sure.
I think we also went into the thing of like, that's probably what China's already doing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know. Nowadays, we're repealing everything, like, get rid of fucking Planned Parenthood, get rid of this and that. Like, we're like, I don't know, man. I think we're working against that platform idea for sure.
Isn't that crazy? Why would we do that to ourselves?
I don't know, man. Like, but the weird thing is, like, I disagree that we should get rid of, like, preventative measures. Like, I think that's fucking absolutely insane. But, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm sure this is a topic all in and of itself, but I don't necessarily agree with, like, late-term abortions.
Late-term? No. No, me either. There definitely needs to be a cutoff in time, because I feel like someone did have enough time to think about it and process it that they didn't need to take it to the last fucking second. Right?
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, like, then you get into this whole argument as to, like, when. Like, well, at 5 weeks, the heart starts beating, and at, 2 weeks, they lose their little tadpole.
Yeah. You know what? At 5 weeks is when the heart starts beating, sure. But when do most people realize that they're pregnant?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know when is like the most.
Even more than that.
Like, because I know that
Even
pregnancy tests are pretty good.
Even more than 5 weeks. Sometimes 8. Sometimes 8 because it's not even that first month that you missed your period that you think anything is wrong. That just happens sometimes.
Right. Sure. I mean, like, I don't know. Like I said, I kind of I can see both sides of that argument. Like, I can see, like, saying, like, that's a human being, or at least it will be, and, you want to give that human being a chance. I can also see the side of the argument where, obviously, in cases of, like, rape and incest and things like that, like, I mean, that's a whole different thing, like, for sure. That's,
right.
That's different. But then, like, like, if you can't give your child a good life, is it, like, is that the right thing to do? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'm honestly kind of split. Like, most people are one way or the other about abortion. I'm kind of split on it, dude, to be honest with you. Like, I swear. Like, it makes logical sense to me as to why you'd get abortion, but then, like, my heartstrings pull the other way. Like, does that make sense? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're thinking about a living being,
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking about, like, what if my because it's not my wife, but my son's mother, like, what if she decided to get an abortion and I didn't have my son? Like, that would, I'd be heartbroken. Like, that would be, I can't imagine a life without my son. Like, I could not. You know what pisses me off, too? I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because it's stuff that, because of what this fucking show is. I think it's fucking bullshit that the men don't have say.
The guy has no say.
And no say whatsoever.
Yeah, that's
fucking
weird.
Fucking bullshit. It's a woman's body. It's still the fucking man's kid.
Right.
It's a man's kid, too. Fuck that shit.
Well,
fuck that shit.
It's so weird, though, because it's also like, what if the woman's like, I want to keep it, and the man's like, nah, I'm dragging your ass to the abortion.
Well, here's
how do you
something,
because also it's like, okay, this is how you get around that. Is like, the woman wants to keep it, the man wants nothing to do with it. Okay, fine. Then the man has nothing to do with it. However, the woman shouldn't then be allowed to apply for, what's it called?
Child support. And
right.
This is a real thing. Actually, what you just brought up is called a paper abortion, is what they call it.
Right. So there you go.
And that's when the man decides, like, on paper, he signs.
But here's the thing. There's no good workaround for the other way around. If the man wants to keep the baby, but the woman doesn't, that man has zero say.
No say. Right. Exactly. And I just think that's fucked, dude. I think the whole system is fucked on how they treat men related to child issues in general. Like the fact that, I mean, way disproportionately, women win custody over, their children, those kind of things, like things in court cases where the guy gets, like, fucking ramshackled. And, like, that's not just, like, me coming from a guy perspective. That's fact. You can ask, like, any level-headed women or woman, and they will say the same thing. Like, that's just a fucking fact.
Well, that's the
guys
thing.
Get
is like,
fucked
so
related to children.
That's the thing is, typically, what happens, unless you have just a huge amount of evidence to prove it otherwise, is that mom gets the house, mom keeps the kids, dad moves out, dad sees kids, and how often the dad sees the kids is up in the air. They usually work something out. In my situation, I saw my father every other weekend, which was so.
I will say this,
which was so silly to me because that's not all that is you're trading weekends on and off, but no one's taking into account the weeks. So I saw my dad Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which means only a full day Saturday. There's only one full day for every 2 weeks that I actually saw my dad. So like when they got divorced, I didn't really, I was 5 years old. And so from that point, like now he's gone and I see him for one full day every 2 weeks, which was I go to this stranger's house every other weekend. And not that he's a bad guy by any means, and I love him, and that, I wasn't ever scared of him or anything like that, but like no one provided me the proper amount of time around my father. Like I couldn't even learn sports properly. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't even.
What breaks my heart about that, dude, is like, I mean, this situation, but like that being said, I get less time with my son than that now, and he is 5 years old now. And just hearing you say that, dude, like makes me want to cry a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, like that breaks my heart.
I'm sorry about that, man. I didn't mean it. Like
no.
But
It's just like it just reinforces like how frustrating that situation is. Like it's just extreme, and maybe that's why I come from
for your situation is because your his mother won't let up.
Right, exactly. She just has, bad blood. And like, to be fair, because we talked about my past, like I was not a great person before. Like I was not a fantastic person before, but I'll tell you what, I have definitely turned my life around. Like I said, I've been sober for 5 years now. Do the math. My son's 5. So since my son was born, like that was when I decided like I was going to sober up. I was going to get things together. And I mean, it's just I never had the chance. But honestly, and we've had this conversation before, but honestly, like I don't give a fuck about how upset that makes me. Like what worries me more is like how that's going to affect my son. Like that's what.
Yeah.
That's what I care more about than anything else.
Here's the thing that happened, at least for me, that maybe that you could hold on to and be able to handle differently, is that now grown up, I don't have much of a relationship with my father, unless it's time for football, like that's like legitimately that's the only time we talk is like when football season's around, because that's all we talk about. And I love it though. I love it. I just wish that we could talk about more. Like why not? And the only reason is because I now realize that his heart also isn't in it. Right? So when I was old enough, when I was 14, 15, I decided I wanted to move in with my dad. And so they sat down, talked about it. My mom wasn't having it, and my dad said that's fine. And if court needs to get involved, like we'll do that. And so ultimately, what happened was I moved in with my father. Because in my mind, I was like, this is great. I'm gonna finally know this guy, and for the most part, I did, but it ultimately became a bit of it was fine the whole time up until his then wife, she actually cheated on him and he got divorced again, and then he just got so depressed that I feel like that's still where he's at till today. There's no talking to him, there's no nothing, he's just stuck. And that's fine, but it's just like that's not my fault. So why did that affect us? And now I'm 29, 30 years old, so here I am that I've gone most of my life not talking to my father, unless it was through text here and there. Like that sucks. And I've tried and I've had those conversations sometimes, only when I would like come around for Christmas, because I knew that was my one shot, my one opportunity to see him, and I would talk to him, and sometimes it would take liquid courage and talk to him then, and it sounds like things are going to change, and they never changed. And those are the parts that are on him I can't do anything about, and I realize now that, like, you know, maybe I should stop holding my breath for something to change there, where I think you, Mike, that's where you could seize the opportunity where my father did.
Right. I was going to say, at least you maybe, you know, you went out there and, like, on the limb to have those conversations and to do that stuff. And I mean, like I said, I think
that takes a lot of fucking guts for the child to initiate those conversations.
And I don't think a child should ever be in that situation. Like, you know, with the little time I have with my son, I do everything I can to make sure that, like, he knows that, you know, I love him, and this is not, I mean, he's still young, so I don't say, you know, I don't break down the conversation. I just want him to know that, like, I want to be with him. Like, it makes my day to be with him. Like, I look forward to seeing him all, like, for the 2 weeks, like, that I wait to get to see him. Like, if she doesn't cancel, you know, like, so it might be a month that's gone by.
Like, whenever I talk to you about that, and, like, you know, Christmas was just around and all that, and it was something that I was genuinely interested in, and sure enough, I asked, I said, do you make sure to, like, try and, like, get him, like, the best gift possible, because, like, you're just like out of spite, if nothing else, you're like, you're fucking right.
Right,
of course I
sure. Absolutely,
and I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and I mean, I want him to know, like, you know, that I am always going to be there, and, like, you know, it's not something, like, he's not just some, like, a nuisance to me that I have to see every couple weeks, and I'm not just some stranger, and that I'm not, you know, I don't want him to feel like that. But it's hard, because sometimes that's how it is, especially him being as young as he is. Like, a month goes by, and then he's, you know, like, you know, if she cancels one day, literally, like, one visit date, then it's a whole month that's went by, and he hasn't seen me in a month, and being 5, I am a fucking stranger again. Like, he is, like when I get to see him regularly, like, he's more open. I only see him one day every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And not even a full day. It's just a few hours in the evening.
So there you go. That's a whole month gone. Yeah.
Yep. So she cancels one day, then that's 4 weeks has gone by since I got to see him.
It's terrible. Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
and there's no way.
It's a punishment that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemies. Like, I think that is the absolute worst thing that you can do to someone is keep their child away from them when they genuinely want to be involved, especially when there's so many fucking dads who want nothing to do with their kids, which is unfortunate. I just can't understand that. Like, that's so hard for me to grasp, that there are these guys that just, like, want nothing to do with their kids at all. Like, that's selfish on a whole nother level. Like, I can't even imagine that level of selfishness. And fuck, if you're listening, fuck you guys. Fuck you.
There you go.
Go see your kid.
There you go. Yeah. Seriously.
And you know what? I'm going to say something else. I want to say something else just because I have a platform. If you are a parent, I understand, like, that you get frustrated with your kids, and kids are frustrating and this and that. And, like, just from the guy who just told you this story, like, appreciate the time you had with your kids, or you have with your kids. Because there's a lot of people, like myself, that wish that I could, like, be mad at my kids for spilling something on the carpet. There's, you know, I literally am envious
right now, my son is taking crayons to the wall.
And, like, honestly, I hear people's stories like that, and I'm envious of it. Like, that sounds crazy, but, like, just, like, no, it could be worse. Like, just appreciate that you have time with your kids. Appreciate all the time you have with your kids, because, you know, not everybody gets that opportunity, and I am envious of that. So that's my PSA of the day. Like, appreciate that shit, because, yeah, you never know. You never know what tomorrow brings to you, so... appreciate your time together. Isn't that nice?
I'm so sorry, dude. You don't deserve that.
No, like I said, I don't think anybody does. I think that's, like, the worst. Like I said, I can't imagine doing that to somebody. But that being said, you know, we make the best of it. I make the best of it. I feel like I'm pretty optimistic about it for the most part. You know, I get down about it a little bit, but I know that, like I keep a journal where almost every day I write him just a little letter, and I figure when he gets old enough to understand, like, I'll give it to him just so he knows that all those
that's something that
days
I love.
that
I love that you do, that I wish I did, I do something. I guess I do something similar, just in terms of like I have a DSLR camera in the living room. I keep one downstairs as well, and anytime anything that like piques my interest, I'll grab it and I'll start just of whatever he's doing, and I'll start just filming him and just the family, just to have that's my version of a journal for him to be able to look back on.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So that's what you're doing, I think, is the best that you can, all that you can do, and I
just want him
really
to be able to one day look back and
do that. I fucking wish my dad did that, like.
Right. I just want him to know that, like, every day or every couple of days, like, that I'm still thinking about him, that I still love him, and that, like I said, I kind of write more candidly in that because, like, I don't plan on doing that to him when he's like fucking 6. Like, he's not going to understand that. But I just like write a little more candidly that, I really wish that I could be with. Like, this is not my choice. This is not my doing. Like, I wish that I had more time with him. That kind of thing. I just want him to know that. Like, I want him to be able to look back and know that there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't wish that I was able to be with him. Like, that he wasn't loved by me, like, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. That I wasn't with him because I didn't care. I wasn't with him because I wasn't able to be, like I actually, wasn't able to be. So, when he gets old enough, one day I'll get those journals and be able to know that. So, yeah.
It just sucks that you have to wait for that. I wish I could help. I wish that I could turn things around there.
No, man, I appreciate that. And like I said, I have faith. I have faith that, one day his mom will do the right thing and realize that, like, what she's doing is not best for him by any means. And, I don't know, hopefully she'll realize one day, I'm a different person.
I'd be the advocate of that. I'd be the one to say firsthand, that's not, like, listen, the moms out there, you're trying. If you're a divorced mother and you're purposely keeping your kid away from the father, fine. Everyone's got their own reasons. I'm not judging anyone.
Sure.
But just like in my situation, like I would have much rather preferred to play catch with my father than my mother, because at least my father would have been into it. Where it just seemed I stopped asking my mom to do it because it seemed like a fucking chore, So I like
right.
So I think there's different situations out there. I'm not gonna put blame on the single moms out there doing the best they can, but like if you are keeping your child's if you're keeping the significant other out of the picture on purpose, like that. Just out of spite, that's pretty fucked. Like,
yeah, you're fucked. I mean, like, just keep in mind, like, and if it's out of spite, like, if you're fucking exo, your baby's daddy, I guess we'll say, it's like, a drug addict, or like he abused you or your child. But that's a different story. But like, out of spite, like, out of spite though, like I'll just say this, like, you're hurting your child more than you are that man that you're trying to hurt, for sure. And same with guys with women, if that ever, happens to be the case with a guy, it goes either way. If you have your significant other...
1,000%.
Right. But, like, you're definitely hurting that child more than that guy. Like, I know as much as, like, this sucks for me, like, I can't imagine how it is for him to, like, and I don't know, I guess we'll say it's just because, again, we're being candid. Like, one of the saddest things he ever said to me was, like, before he was old enough to kind of understand who I was and my position, like, my ex didn't even tell him necessarily that I was his dad. Like, when he was old enough to start talking about that, and, I asked him about, like, something about his dad, and he laughed, and he said, like, that he didn't have a dad. Like, he truly believed that he didn't have a father. Like, he was born without a father. That is, like, I don't know, man, I was heartbroken. My heart was tore out. Like, I don't know. That's...
Did you set the record straight there, like, as best as you could?
Yeah. I mean, not that exact day, because he was still pretty young then. I think he was 3, but, like,
right.
When he was a little bit older, we had that conversation that, like, I'm your dad, you do have a dad, like, I care about you a lot. You know what I mean? Like, we did have that conversation when he was a little bit older and a little bit able to understand. I don't remember exactly how old he was, but he was young when he was, like, old enough to know that he did not have a dad. Yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. The whole thing's tough. It's just... Yeah, it's tough. I feel bad about talking about myself so much on the podcast. Like, I feel like we went from parenting to, like,
I mean, it's such a,
shit,
that's not whining at all. That is a reality check for others out there that,
Yeah. I mean, it's just
don't be upset that your kid's drawing with crayon on the wall.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and just. Because, I mean, like, the same goes with, like, I mean, how many fucking people are locked up that don't get to see their kids at all, too? And, I mean, like, a lot of times for petty crimes, like, I feel bad for those people, too, dude. Like, the people who are out there that, like, had fucking, a bag of fucking weed on them and got busted and got fucking thrown in jail for 10 years, 15 years because they're black, and then they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. Like, I feel horrible for those people and their kids. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, like, the whole thing, just be grateful that you have your children and that they're with you, and that, I don't know, just be grateful. That's all I would say.
Just be grateful.
Exactly, yeah. I think in general, if people are more grateful about things that they have, you're a lot happier. You're definitely a lot happier when you're grateful about the things you have, for sure.
It's true.
So this was the Sunday School podcast, and I'm Mike.
Hey, and I am Jake, and I'd like to not think of it
motivational.
I'd like to not think of it
hour
as
podcast.
I'd like to say that we're not ending it on a low note. We're ending it on an eye opener for probably a lot of people. Something that you said, Mike, was. Just about, like, you wish that you had the opportunity to get frustrated with your kid drawing on the wall. Like, that's gonna stick with me for forever. I might fucking start drawing on my wall with them. I mean, I think that putting that perspective in people's minds is not a bad thing at all. But that's all I got till next time. I'll be I'll be out of town next week, so we're gonna have to figure out a time to record. To it.
You got some big plans for next week, man. You got some shit going on.
Yeah. I mean, sure do.
Yeah.
Work stuff.
I know. Yeah. Work stuff. Important work stuff. Yeah. For sure. But yeah, I think that pretty much, I mean, like, I think we taught some people some good stuff about parenting, different types of parenting, what you shouldn't do with your kids.
It's true.
Don't take pictures of 13-year-olds in bathrooms unless you get beat up by some angry Jake family. So,
happy.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of learning lessons here. Yeah, for sure, dude.
I won't be happy and I won't regret it.
Amen.
Yeah.
So,
awesome, man.
But,
as always.
I think we still...
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say, we still will have a podcast that will come out next week, though, right? Or are we taking a week off?
No, we will. We'll just have to
find
a time to record prior to my departure.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to verify. So yeah, look forward. There'll still be another podcast next week. Look forward to also some social media. I would say within the next week, you will be able to find us on most social media platforms.
That's what I was gonna say. At least certainly an email address for sure. We'll have a Gmail set up, all that, so questions can come in, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, like
Yeah,
Mike
by
said,
next week things will be looking a little more official for sure. We will be giving you guys some contact information. So, yeah, we will definitely have that stuff set up for you. But I guess that is stuff you wouldn't say out loud.
Stuff you wouldn't
4.
say out loud. Episode 4.
Bitch.
In the bag.
Bitch.
The fucking bag. Thank you all for listening. Till next time. Yeah, till next time.